Hey guys, Evilswarm here, and today I'm going to bring you a deck profile of my Evilswarm deck that I run in real life. This is a deck that I've been using in several locals tournaments. I've used it in like 5 to 7 locals tournaments, and it did quite well. Unfortunately, I really haven't had the chance to bring this deck to a larger tournament, but frankly there aren't really a lot of large tournaments here in Belgium. There was the European Championship in Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago, I guess, but unfortunately I didn't get an invite because I started playing late and I didn't get a chance to visit the qualifier and that kind of stuff. So I really didn't went there. It would have been a good test for this deck to see how it would do. But nonetheless, here's the deck. As I said earlier, this is Evilswarm, so a lot of things are actually going to be obvious. And I'm not going to keep pointing out the obvious, but oh well. We start off with 2 Rescue Rabbit, which is logical because it will search off for your 3 Heliotropes. This is an engine used a lot. I'm not going to explain this anymore. It's just summon Rabbit, special summon Heliotrope, get out Ophion as fast as possible. Running 3 Karikion, MVP of the game. I used to run 2 because I only had 2. But now I run 3, and I must say that I'm really happy with this card that it's running 3. Then let's move these Karikions to the side. Mandragora. A lot of people don't like Mandragora anymore, but I must say I truly love him in 3. It is your Cyber Dragon for the deck, so everybody should run this, especially against Dragon Rulers. Or other decks that swarm, such as the Mirror Match and stuff. The opponent will most likely have more monsters than you, and this card is perfect in that kind of situation. I've also seen a lot of anti-meta decks that tend to use this card as an extra special summon in addition to their normal summon, such as Thunderbird, which is also quite a common card in anti-meta. So yeah, Castor. This is another card that doesn't really need any explanation. Double summon to get out Ophion really quickly. This is just searchable by reinforcements of the army. Unfortunately, it's not a Beast Warrior, otherwise we could abuse Tenki, which would actually be quite hilarious. Then we have Evilswarm Thunderbird. Thunderbird has kind of lost his shine over the past couple of years. Here we talk, has lost some shine over the past couple of months. It was very good at first, but since people are running less back row, this card is seeing less play. I still run 2 because of the simple reason that at my locals there are a lot of heavy back row decks, so that's the reason why I still run 2. Also a lot of Constellar decks actually, and this card just works wonders against Constellars. I tack in 1 Evilswarm O-Lantern. Simply because this is my exiled force of the deck. If my opponent has a card that I can't really get rid of, such as an Ophion, and they don't carry Dress or Safe Zone, then Ophion is simply dead. So yeah, this card is really awesome. If you guys don't run it in your Evilswarm deck, be sure to give it a try. It's a very underrated card, and I'm sure you will love it. Then, double Maxi, not triple, not single, double. This is because of the reason. Every time I visit my locals, I had a feeling that my cards are I'm just running low on monsters real quick, even though the ratio monsters versus spell and traps is 1-to-1, running 20 monsters in the past, but nowadays I'm really running 22 or 23, no 22 I guess in this deck. I'm running 22 monsters, and together with Maxi, which is a hand trap, which you can easily trigger on those pesky Constellar decks or Evilswarm's matchups. Yeah, it just gives you the hand advantage you really need. It's also very good against the elemental dragons or dragon rulers as they're called nowadays. So yeah, this is a very good card. Then double Effect Veilers. Effect Veiler, I just love it. Hand traps are so popular. I really love to shut down an opponent when they don't expect to be shut down actually, and Effect Veiler is just the perfect card for that. Yeah, what else can I say about this card? Then it's just perfectly awesome. Yeah, just try it out. And then final, Dark Arm Dragon. Not a lot of people are fan of Dark Arm Dragon because of the sole reason that Dark Arm Dragon is a dead draw in the beginning of the game, and even late game sometimes it isn't very good, because if you get out Karikion only late, then in early game it won't do a thing. If you don't have any Karikians anymore to abuse it, then this card is just a dead draw. But guys, really, how many times this guy has saved me. It has won me so many duels, so really it's worth running. For this, that is just the monster lineup, 22 monsters. Let's continue to the spells. We have 3 spells. We have 3 Infestation Pandemics. Infestation Pandemic, I just love this card. This is your searchable lens, and I think it should be running 3 in every deck. Even though there aren't a lot of back row cards anymore in the meta, but at my locals there are people who run a lot of heavy back row decks, and I just like to pack this in 3 for that. So it's just a personal preference, I guess, but in general I think 3 Infestation Pandemics is just too good, and hopefully Konami doesn't restrict them to 2 in September. Now here we have Forbidden Dress. Forbidden Dress, I like this card as well. A lot of people are fan of Dark Illusion, a lot of people are fan of Safe Zone, and then you have the majority that is fan of Forbidden Dress. In this meta, I think Forbidden Dress is slightly better than Safe Zone, because you can activate it in battle step, during battle damage that is. It's also Forbidden Dress, you can play it both defensively and aggressively. You do have your monster lose 600 attack points, but you'll be rarely using Safe Zone aggressively, but you can use this aggressively, especially in the mirror match against Constellars. This is just a very good card. I'm really a big fan of it. I used to run it in 3, but that I found a little bit too cloggy, so 2 is just fine. Then we have Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, and yeah, why not? Reinforcements of the army. This is in my case the holy trinity of this deck. Monster Reborn, self-explanatory. Heavy Storm, same stuff. And Reinforcements, it is basically your 4th castor. Basically your 4th castor, like I said. So those are the spells. Not too many spells here. Now for the traps lineup. I main 2 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. There is only 1 Prophecy player at my locals, but the thing is, I can hit any deck with this card. Like I said, I have the meta at my locals is pretty based on back row, is still back row heavy, and when they just Dimensional Fissure or Bottomless my Ophion that I get out on the field, I can simply chain it with Eradicator, call traps, and their trap lineup is just done for. And that's what I'm liking about this card. It's good against Prophecy, but it's also very applicable in my situation. Double Torrential, not much has to be said about this. Torrential is just awesome. I think it is run in 2 in every Evilswarm deck or in any meta deck nowadays. The Solemn Duo is just too good. I do tend to side out these 2 cards when I'm not going first. So first game you can't really choose that, but if you go to a second game or a third game where you're going second, I most likely tend to side these 2 out for something different, like Mystical Space Typhoon or Breakthrough Skill, because these are really good if you want to grasp control from turn 1. But if you're going second, I think this card does lose kind of a little bit of its potential. Then I'm running 2 Compulsory Evacuation Device, simply because this card is good against Dracosec, it's good against in the mirror, it's good against Constellars, Pleiades, and those other bitches from Constellars really don't like this card. So that's the reason why I'm running Compulsion 2. Then Infestation Infection, I don't have to. This is your searcher in the deck. This will search out your monsters if you have like heliotropes in your hands that you don't want to waste. And finally I take XYZ Reborn. XYZ Reborn is actually one of the MVPs of this deck. Together with Eradicator Epidemic Virus, it can do so much evil. Just eradicate your Ophion, they try to Bottomless or something else, and bring it back next turn with XYZ Reborn. I only play 1, I just stack it in 1, because yeah, 2 is just too cloggy. When I'm at a point where I try to run 3 virus, I'm just going to run 2, then it might be okay. But when I'm running 2 viruses, that is just fine. Now let's have a look at the extra deck. The extra deck is pretty standard, I guess. First off, we have Gem Knight Pearl. Nothing much has to be said about this. This one is just good against the mirror match. Then we have King of the Feral Imps. Not a lot of Dragon Ruler players are at my locals, but if they are, I just want to be sure that I can take them on, and this works well with Vasky in my side deck. Then Utopia, basically just a filler. I used it once against Mermails. Maystroke, this guy is standard as hell. This is just a good card. Don't really go into him very often, but from time to time it's necessary. Gagaga Cowboy is just a great card. Works so well against so many cards. Yeah, we can say he's standard as well. Abyss Dweller, he's a guy I tend to run a lot because a lot of people are playing Mermails at my region, at my locals. So yeah, that's also a card I tend to play a lot. Daigusto Emerald is great in the mirror because it lets you reborn Gem Knight Pearl. So yeah, it's a very good card overall. Then the last non-XYZ monster, non-Evilswarm XYZ monster is Shockmaster. Don't really go too much into him except for when I'm facing Prophecy. So this is my matchup then. Evilswarm Nightmare. Not a lot of people are a big fan of Evilswarm Nightmare, but I am, because against Mermails it's pretty much game when you get this guy out and Ophion, because just place this guy in defense mode and have Ophion in attack, and whenever they want to special summon something that is below level 5, you just chain this card to it, and yeah, you just get so much control. Evilswarm Bahamut, it's your monster against Dragon Rulers. Really good card. You just play it in 2 because of the reason that nobody's expecting a second one. And then 3 Ophion. Ophion is just a boss monster. This really doesn't need any explanation. That's the reason why I'm running an Evilswarm deck. And finally, Evilswarm Ouroboros. Never really got this guy out except once against an Exodia deck, and just used it, what is it? Is a third effect, banish a card in the opponent's graveyard, and I banished a piece of Exodia, so that won me the game basically. Last but not least, let's have a look at the side deck. First off, we have Reptilian Vasky. As you have probably seen out of my extra deck, I'm running King of the Feral Imps, and this guy pairs up with that guy perfectly in order to shut down Dragon Rulers. Next we have Forbidden Dress. Normally 2 Forbidden Dress is enough in my locals meta, but sometimes I really need 3 when I'm facing decks that rely on monsters effect really a lot, so that's when I'm going to need this card as well. Then, the third card of my side deck might not be a very convenient one, and a lot of people are going to argue about me with this card. But actually, not many people are running Dark Hole anymore, and this is kind of my surprise effect for those decks. Sometimes when I'm facing decks that OTK very often, that swarm with a lot of monsters, I just use Dark Hole, and yeah, they really don't have an answer for it anymore. Double Dimensional Fissure, don't have to say much about it. My locals meta is very Mermail heavy, so I'm just running this. Triple Mystical Space Typhoon. My deck really doesn't like stall decks or heavy back row decks or burn decks. I do carry Eradicator Epidemic Virus, but in some cases I do need the extra support for when I'm not drawing it, and then 3 Mystical Space Typhoon is just the thing I need. Then I have 2 Breakthrough Skills. These 2 breakthrough skills are in German, as you can see, Jawohl, Breakthrough Skill, or whatever it's called in German, I can't really read it. But I'm Belgian, not German by the way. And these guys, I like them over Fiendish Chain in some situations, but in some other situation I'd have Fiendish Chain over this breakthrough skill. But yeah, I'm just putting it in my side deck when I'm facing decks that rely on monster effects. For the rogue decks, I have my 2 deck devastation viruses. Decks such as wind-ups, I don't see that very often, but if I have to encounter them, then this is my answer to it, and I can just obliterate it with them. I just swap up my Eradicator Epidemic viruses for it, and then I'm fine. Empyrean Iron Wall, there are 2 to 3 people who are running Dragon Rulers at my locals. I tend to have the natural better matchup against them, but sometimes these Imperial Iron Walls are just perfect to side in as well. And finally, 1 Eradicated Epidemic Virus for the Prophecy players. There are actually more Prophecy players at my locals than there are Dragon Ruler players, so this really comes in handy. So guys, this was my deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. It was my first one, so it might sound a little strange at first, but I really enjoyed doing it. I'm going to bring more deck profiles to this channel as we pass on. So if you want to see more of this kind of deck profiles, be sure to subscribe my channel, like this video. You can also add me on Facebook, on Skype. My Skype address, Facebook, and my Twitter are at the end of this video, so continue watching this video up to the end. Do I need to say more? Maybe, yeah, I'm also going to work on a Constellar's deck, and I'm also going to work on a Fire Fist deck, which I believe those 2 decks are going to be really good once the format slows down in September, which is a small 2 months in the future. So those decks will be finished by September, and I'll also be doing deck profile of that. I also have Frog Monarchs, which I'd like to run as a fun deck. I can do a profile of that as well. Just if you want to see it, leave a comment in the comment section below. This was Biolizard1. Check out my other videos, subscribe, have fun, and see you next time. Bye bye.